All right, this is the Unit 4 test, World War I and imperialism. Number 1, what was the effect of the U.S. policy illustrated in the cartoon pictured? A, the U.S. government allowed more immigrants into the United States. B, the U.S. government was trying to illustrate that China was open to trade with any nation. C, the U.S. dividing China into spheres of influence to promote trade with other European powers. D, by establishing a foreign policy of isolationism to stay out of world affairs. Number 2, in the years leading up to the start of World War I, European nations, and increasingly the United States, competed with one another to establish large empires in Africa and Asia. This development is most related to which of the following causes of World War I? A, imperialism, B, nationalism, C, militarism, D, the alliance system. Number 3, which of the following statements is the most accurate description of U.S. foreign policy before World War I? A, the United States had a history of siding with Great Britain in any European war. B, the United States had not contact with Europe in politics or in trade. C, the United States maintained a policy of neutrality in all European conflicts before World War I. D, the United States had a history of siding with Germany in all European wars before World War I. The Allied and associated governments affirm, and Germany accepts the responsibility of Germany and her allies for causing all the loss and damage to which the Allied and associated governments and their nationals have been subjected as a consequence of the war imposed upon them by the aggression of Germany and her allies. Article 231 of the Treaty of Versailles. Number 4, according to the excerpt above, why was Germany held responsible for paying the costs associated with World War I? A, the Allies and the Central Powers were equally responsible for the start of the war. B, the Allies forced Germany to accept the War Guilt Clause, which said that Germany was responsible for the start of the war. C, the Central Powers determined that Great Britain and her allies had to pay for the damages associated with the war. D, in the Treaty of Versailles, other nations were afraid of Germany, so they decided to allow Germany to keep territory in Poland. Number 5. Which of the following was not a territory acquired by the United States immediately after the Spanish-American War as a result of the Treaty of Paris of 1898? A, Philippines, B, Guam, C, Alaska, or D, Puerto Rico? Whether they will or not, Americans must now begin to look outward. The growing production of the country demands it. The history of sea power is largely, though by no means solely, a narrative of contest between nations, of mutual rivalries, of violence frequently culminating in war. The profound influence of sea commerce upon the wealth and strength of countries was clearly seen long before the true principles which govern its growth and prosperity were detected. Alfred Thayer Mahan, The Influence of Sea Power Upon History. Using the above excerpt, Alfred Thayer Mahan would be in favor of all of the following except which one? A, a weak military force to not protect United States ships. B, imperialism to expand the United States' power and commerce. C, a strong modern naval fleet to protect the United States territories and commerce. D, military bases in the Caribbean Sea to aid the Navy as fueling stations. Number 7, according to the cartoon, which of the following actions would most likely be supported by Theodore Roosevelt? A, the explaining of American intervention in Mexico by arguing for superiority of American democracy. B, declaring U.S. neutrality and isolation in response to conflicts in the Western Hemisphere. C, sending U.S. troops to intervene in conflicts between Germany and Russia. D, using U.S. troops to intervene as a police action in the Western Hemisphere. Number 8. Why did Britain, France, and Russia form an alliance in the early 20th century? A, fear of Germany's increasing power. B, geographical proximity. C, previous economic and commercial relationships. Or D, similar forms of government. Number 9. Which of the following best describes the belief most Americans had about involvement with Europe after World War I? A, isolationism. B, nationalism. C, imperialism, or D, interventionism? Number 10. What is the topic of the World War I cartoon picture to the left? A, the sinking of the Lusitania. B, the Zimmerman note or telegram. C, the use of German U-boats during World War I, or D, a plan for the United States to give up the Philippines? Number 11. How does the history of the United States in the early 19th century provide a motivation for the cartoon above? A, U.S. had helped Mexico become independent from Spain. B, the United States had won a large area of land in the Mexican-American War through the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, or Mexican Cession. C, the U.S. had never sent notes to Mexico. Or D, U.S. had an alliance with Mexico against Germany. Number 12. The Platt and Teller Amendments allowed the United States to maintain control over which of these nations? A, China, B, Panama, C, Cuba, or D, Puerto Rico? It is not true that the United States feels any land hunger or entertains any projects as regards the other nations of the Western Hemisphere, save such as are for their welfare. All that this country desires is to see the neighboring countries stable, orderly, and prosperous. Any country whose people conduct themselves well can count upon our hearty friendship. If a nation shows that it knows how to act with reasonable efficiency and decency in social and political matters, if it keeps order and pays its obligations, it need fear no interference from the United States. Chronic wrongdoing or an impotence which results in a general loosening of the ties of civilized society may, in America, as elsewhere, ultimately require intervention by some civilized nation. And in the Western Hemisphere, the adherence of the United States to the Monroe Doctrine may force the United States, however reluctantly, in flagrant cases of such wrongdoing or impotence, to the exercise of an international police power. Number 13. Theodore Roosevelt wrote the above explanation to convince people that the United States was no longer motivated by manifest destiny. He was mainly writing this to A, reassure anti-imperialists that the United States was not trying to conquer other nations in the Western Hemisphere. B, warn nations in the Western Hemisphere that they had to obey American laws. C, gain support of imperialists who wanted the U.S. to gain control over more naval bases and territory on islands. D, ask for the help of European nations in maintaining stable governments in the Western Hemisphere.
If you're in the building, please report to the office. Eileen Daniels, if you're in the building, please report to the office. Thanks.
Sorry for the interruption. Number 14. Which of the following is most likely the message of the cartoon above? A, Wilson faced opposition in the League of Nations from the Senate. B, Republicans supported the League of Nations because it was consistent with George Washington's foreign policy. C, George Washington is leading the attack against the League of Nations. D, the League of Nations is not effective because European countries do not support it. Answer number 15 and 16 based on this excerpt. The Philippines are ours forever, and just beyond the Philippines are China's illimitable markets. We will not retreat from either. We will not repudiate our duty in the archipelago. We will not abandon our opportunity in the Orient. We will not renounce our part in the mission of our race, trustee under God of the civilization of the world. And we will move forward to our work with gratitude and thanksgiving to the Almighty God that He has marked us as His chosen people, henceforth to lead in regeneration of the world. Our largest trade henceforth must be with Asia. The Pacific is our ocean, and the Pacific is the ocean of the commerce of the future. The power that rules the Pacific, therefore, is the power that rules the world. And with the Philippines, that power is and will forever be the American Republic. Based on the excerpt, what is the main argument of Senator Beveridge in favor of the annexation of the Philippines? A, the people of the Philippines want to join the United States to support democracy. B, the Philippines gives the United States better access to trade in the Pacific region. C, the United States is responsible for spreading democracy to people in Asia. D, the annexation of the Philippines goes against the wishes of God. Number 16. How are the arguments for annexation of the Philippines, as reflected in the ideas of the senator, similar to the arguments in favor of manifest destiny in the early 19th century? A, Beveridge warns Americans that attacking other nations is contrary to the will of God. B, Beveridge argues that expanding American power into Asia is supported by the will of God. C, Beveridge fears that the U.S. will be influenced by ideas that oppose the will of God in the Philippines. D, Beveridge supports making the people of the Philippines citizens because they are equal to Americans. Number 17. Which of the following best represents an explanation for the picture above? A. The Spanish attacked the United States coast to start war. B. The Cubans had a strong fleet to defeat Panama. C. Theodore Roosevelt sent the Great White Fleet around the world to show the power of the United States. D. Jose Marti led the Spanish fleet against Cuban independence. Number 18. Which of the following would be the best title for the group of pictures above? A. The alliance system made many Europeans leave World War I. B. The reasons for United States entry into World War I. C. The Central Powers defeated the Allied powers during the war. D. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand by the Germans. Number 19. What is the significance of the Spanish-American War? A. United States was defeated by the Spanish in a series of battles that led to American withdrawal of troops. B. The United States was recognized as a world power. C. The United States defended its territories from European aggression. D. Spain was recognized by the United States as a power in the Western Hemisphere. Number 20. The illustration represents one of the major ways that the United States dealt with which problem in World War I? A. German U-boats attacks on U.S. merchant ships. B. British raids on German passenger ships. C. German use of chlorine and mustard gas. D. American anger over the Zimmerman Note. Number 21. Which of the following is the best explanation of the point of view of the above cartoon? A. The Senate is correct in opposing the Treaty of Versailles because of the dangers of future wars by joining the League of Nations, even though Woodrow Wilson created the League of Nations in the 14 points. B. The Senate and Woodrow Wilson agreed that the League of Nations is very dangerous to America. C. Senators are too lazy to understand the dangers of the League of Nations. D. President Wilson is trying to force the U.S. to join a dangerous organization that will threaten our peace with Europe. Number 22. Following the Spanish-American War, which of the following represents the impact upon the citizens of Puerto Rico? A. There was no significant impact for Puerto Ricans. B. Puerto Rico became a territory of the United States and were granted equal rights. C. Puerto Rico became a territory but were not given equal rights under the Constitution. D. Puerto Rico became the 50th state. Number 23. Which of the following was the impact of the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand? A. Great Britain declared war on France. B. Germany declared war on Russia. C. Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia. D. Italy declared war on Bulgaria. Number 24. What does the 14th point of Wilson's 14 points suggest needs to happen? A League of Nations should be set up to guarantee the political and territorial independence of all states. A. Countries of the world need to stop imperializing and cut all ties with one another. B. The United States should become the sole world superpower and control all of the other countries. C. Countries should come together and create an international organization to maintain world peace. D. There needs to be specific rules for engaging in war. Number 25. How did the Treaty of Versailles achieve the goal stated in 10 of the 14 points? Self-determination should be allowed for all those living in Austria-Hungary. A. Allowed Poland, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Austria, and Yugoslavia to establish their own national government. Allowed Austria-Hungary to keep its empire as it was prior to World War I. C. Divided the empire of Austria-Hungary between Russia and Great Britain. D. Get rid of Austria completely. Number 26. All of the following is true about the Spanish-American War except which one? A. The Spanish were able to maintain control of Cuba after the war. B. It was called the Splendid Little War because it only lasted 141 days. C. The United States was recognized as an international world power. D. The U.S. gained territories in the Pacific to spread their sphere of influence. Number 27. What is one of the main reasons Woodrow Wilson was reelected? A. He led us to victory. B. He kept us out of the war. C. He made America great again. D. He led the charge for America. 28. The images above illustrate which of the following characteristics of World War I? A. Introduction of new technology led to years of trench warfare and a stalemate. B. Introduction of new technology led to a faster end to the war and fewer deaths among soldiers. C. Introduction of new technology had little impact on the fighting of World War I. Or D. Introduction of new technology led to victory over of Germany over the French. Number 29, which statement most accurately summarizes the main idea in the 14 points? A, Wilson thought it was important for post-war peace in the world and fix the causes of World War I. B, Wilson thought there should be 4 strong nations in the world: the United States, England, France, and Italy. C, the 14 points state the people do not have the right to choose their own governments. D, Wilson's 14 points supports nationalism but wants to punish Germany for starting the war. Number 30, how did the National War Labor Board support the war effort of the United States in World War I? A, helped improve conditions to prevent strikes and make sure there were no disputes between workers and their employees. B, ordered all labor unions to be destroyed so that workers could not go on strike. C, gave jobs to immigrants so that war supplies would be cheaper. D, helped business owners by forcing workers to accept lower pay and longer hours. Number 31. That which the German power represents today spells death to the aspiration of Negroes and all darker races for equality, freedom, and democracy. Let us not hesitate. Let us, while this war lasts, forget our special grievances and close our ranks shoulder to shoulder with our own white fellow citizens and the allied nations that are fighting for democracy. W.E.B. Du Bois. This quotation reflects which attitude of many African Americans during World War I? A, African Americans should not pay attention to the war. B, African Americans should participate fully and fight in the war. C, African Americans should support the war only in non-combat roles. D, African Americans should pressure the nation to withdraw from the war. Number 32. In Schenck versus the United States, the Supreme Court, A, overturned a lower court decision because all citizens have right to freedom of speech even in wartime. B, upheld the Espionage and Sedition Act, limiting freedom of speech in wartime. C, established that the segregation of U.S. military forces was unconstitutional. Or D, declared child labor laws unconstitutional. Number 33. Which of the following was not a member of the Central Powers during World War I? A, Germany, B, France, C, Austria-Hungary, or D, the Ottoman Empire? One, in 1914, war begins in Europe. 2, in 1950, Germany sinks the Lusitania. 3, in 1916, Germany issues the Sussex Pledge. 4, in 1917. And then 5, Wilson announces the 14 points. Which of the following best completes the blank in number 4? A, France declares war on Germany. B, Austria-Hungary surrenders to Great Britain. C, the United States declares war on Germany. D, Italy declares neutrality. 35. The Spanish-American War was fought in A, the Philippines and Puerto Rico, B, Spain and Cuba, C, Puerto Rico and Spain, D, the Cuba and the Philippines. Number 36. According to the Schlieffen Plan, to avoid a blank war by sweeping through neutral Belgium in order to knock France out of the war, resulting in blank entering the war. Is it A, nuclear Spain, B, two-front Great Britain, C, one-sided United States, D, Western Mexico? Number 37. In 1917, Congress passed the Selective Service Act in response to the U.S. joining the war. What was the purpose of the act? That men 21 to 35 years of age register for the draft. B, not allow any citizen to criticize the government during a time of war. C, develop new weapons to use in the war. D, ensure food was preserved for the war effort. Number 38. George Creel's Office of Public Information, A, protected the civil rights of Americans. B, exercised no censorship over war news. C, disseminated American propaganda. D, helped draft speeches for the president. Number 39. What impact did the Russian Revolution have on World War I? A, Russia continued to fight. B, Germany conquered Russia. C, the U.S. began to support communist Russia. Or D, Russia withdrew from the war. Number 40. How did the laws and agencies developed during World War I impact the power of the government? A, the power of state governments was expanded. B, the power of the federal government was expanded. C, the power of the federal government was more limited. D, the power of the president was more limited.